Welcome. It is Verdict with Senator Ted Cruz, Ben Ferguson with you. And Senator, it's nice to talk about a really important issue tonight that many Americans have become much more concerned about. That's flying. You fly a lot, I fly a lot, and you have introduced new legislation that's going to deal with what happened with that helicopter crash into the airplane right there at Reagan. Your wife was flying in that night. I remember that night well. And 6 months to the day, you've introduced this.
Well, that's exactly right. You and I are sitting here. It is Tuesday night, 6 months ago to the day, on January 29th, is when the horrific accident occurred over Ronald Reagan National Airport. 67 souls were killed in that accident. And this week, today actually, I introduced legislation to dramatically improve air safety, to protect the flying public. We're going to talk about that, talk about the need to avoid any accident like that going forward. We're also going to talk about stunning evidence that's come forward that the FBI was complicit in the Russia hoax. The FBI knew what they were doing, and they played an active role. We're going to lay out what the head of the CIA laid out this week. All of that on today's Verdict.
I want to talk to you real quick about an amazing thing that you can do every single day. It is called drinking a really good coffee. And if you start your great cup of coffee, then that's something you crave. You're going to love a company called Crockett Coffee. Now, Crockett Coffee is a company, a brand that was started by two of my good friends, fellow patriots, Buck Sexton and Clay Travis. And they decided, stop drinking average coffee, get a great cup of coffee. And they do it by, doing something that's pretty awesome. They do small batch roasted coffee. Yeah, this is not your average cup of coffee, and you're going to enjoy the aroma of Crockett Coffee as it brews in your home like you've never experienced before. I'm hooked because I start my day off with coffee. Why not make it a fabulous cup of coffee? Now, you can choose between fresh ground, whole bean, or K-Cups if you choose. And if you're interested in mushroom coffee and the positive benefits that come with enjoying that each day, Crockett Coffee is now producing that as well. There's dark roast, mild roast, light roast, a decaf version, and a mushroom organic blend. And you choose what you like to try first. Now, here's what I love about Crockett Coffee. A portion of your purchase goes directly to support Tunnel to Towers Foundation because the good people at Crockett Coffee also pledge to never forget. Now, let me just save you some money so you can try it, and you'll understand why I love it. Go online to crockettcoffee.com. Use my name, Ben, and you're going to get 20% off your first order. That's crockettcoffee.com. My name, Ben, as your promo code. You'll get 20% off. And you're going to get to experience premium small batch coffee the way coffee was meant to be roasted. And it's just awesome. Done right here in the Heartland as well. CrockettCoffee.com. My name, Ben, is your promo code 20% off. All right, so, Senator, let's go back 6 months in time and remind people. I remember that night. It was a night where we had that helicopter that went right into that plane that was coming down at Reagan National. And it killed so many people. It also, I think, really shook a lot of travelers to their core. And the question that was asked was like, how does this even happen? How is this possible? And now there's real legislation to keep our families safe as they fly. You fly a lot. Your family flies a lot. It's something that's on a lot of people's minds.
Well, this happened on January 29th. It was the 9th day of the Trump presidency. And actually, the night it happened, I was having dinner with Mike Waltz. Mike Waltz was at the time President Trump's national security advisor. The two of us were talking about the national security threats to the country. We were having a great dinner. And then at the very end of the dinner, we were wrapping up, and he got a text over his phone. He's like, oh, crap. He said there was just a major crash over Reagan Airport. And so Mike rushed off to the Situation Room to deal with it from the White House. As I got up that night, it so happened Heidi was flying into D.C., and she was landing at Reagan. And I will say my body man came up to me, and Trent, and you know Trent is a great guy.
Yeah.
Trent came up to me, and he said, Heidi's okay, but there was a plane crash at Reagan. I got to say Trent did a very good job starting with Heidi's okay, because I get, when your wife's in the air like that, if you reverse those statements, that causes you to freak out. So I was very grateful. Heidi's plane was scheduled to land about a half hour after the crash. So they diverted her to BWI Airport, which is, about an hour away. Heidi got home that night to our apartment. We normally live in Houston, but she was coming up that night to be with me. I got to tell you, I just held her. I mean, your wife is on a plane. It could as easily been her plane as the plane that crashed. And it was a plane, an American Airlines plane that was flying from Wichita to D.C. As it was landing at DCA Reagan Airport. An Army Blackhawk helicopter came across the landing path and collided. And there were 3 soldiers on the Army helicopter. There were 64 people, 61 passengers, and 3 crew members on the plane, and in an instant, they were incinerated. It was a horrific accident. I will tell you, in the wake of the accident, I went to the NTSB site where they'd pulled all the wreckage out, and the wreckage, the damage. Here's the good news. I said, look, did anyone drown? Because the plane and the helicopter went down in the Potomac. And I suppose the good news is they said nobody drowned. They said the helicopter rotor struck the wing. The wing is filled with jet fuel, and it immediately exploded, and it is essentially incinerated everyone. So they died instantly, which I've got to say, if you're going to die in a plane crash, you'd rather die instantly than slowly and painfully. So I suppose there's a blessing in that. But I will say, standing at the NTSB site with the wreckage of the plane, the wreckage of the helicopter, and you see just charred seats, you see just pieces of the plane and helicopter, and you also saw, children's backpacks and toys and luggage and all of the wreckage of 67 people who died instantly. And it was horrific. It was shocking. And look, what was frustrating is it should not have happened. It was avoidable. And so in the 6 months that have followed, I've chaired multiple hearings. I've had multiple roundtable discussions with the NTSB, the National Traffic Safety Board, with the FAA, with the Department of Transportation, to say what went wrong. And there are multiple pieces of what went wrong. That should never have happened. One of the things that went wrong is the Army helicopter did not have functioning ADSB out. Now, what does that mean? ADSB out and ADSB in is advanced technology to locate where a plane is, where a helicopter is. And ADSB out broadcast to everyone so you can get a precise, the air traffic controllers can get a precise image, and other aircraft can get a precise image of exactly where that aircraft is. ADSB in is the ability to receive the signals from all the other aircrafts. So ideally, you need both. You need ADSB out, so you're broadcasting to the whole world, and you need ADSB in, where you can see the images of the other aircraft. Now, for 20 years, the NTSB, the National Traffic Safety Board, has been recommending that every aircraft have ADSB in and ADSB out. That is not the law, and the Army Blackhawk helicopter did not have ADSB out that was functioning that night. So that meant the American Airlines plane could not see it until the two collided and everyone died. This week I introduced legislation, I called it the Rotor Act, and it mandates that every aircraft, a jet, a helicopter, any other aircraft, that is in commercial airspace, that is in the airspace where planes are flying, where the flying public is, must have both ADSB out and ADSB in. I think this is common sense legislation. I think we're going to get it passed. And I think when we get it passed, it is going to make the flying public significantly safer.
Why did it take so long? I mean, I know there was a lot of people that said, well, it was just a cost issue, and it was a cost add-on to the price of a plane. It was cost add-on to small, planes and different things, and that people were frustrated. They're like, this is another one of those regulations. Was it as simple as that, and that's the reason why it was always basically not made a law?
So there are different pieces of it. The FAA required ADSB out. So it required aircraft to broadcast their location so the air traffic controllers could get it and other aircraft that had ADSB in could get it. However, there was an MOU, a Memorandum of Understanding with the Army, that exempted a lot of Army flights. This was a training flight. This was not a vital national security flight. This was not like they were transporting nuclear secrets. This was a training flight. But they did not have functioning ADSB out on in a way that anyone could see. I think that exemption makes no sense. And so part of the Rotor Act is ending that exemption and saying, look, if you're flying in commercial airspace, you need to have ADSB out on. That was one component. The second component is ADSB in, which is the ability to see the other signals. Now, it varies. Many large airline flights typically have ADSB in, but a lot of other flights do not. And the impediment, and as you noted, was cost. That 20 years ago, it was fairly expensive to put this on. It's not that expensive anymore. And one of the things I've done over the last 6 months is that I've met with a lot of the stakeholders. I've met with the airlines. I've met with general aviation. I've met with a lot of the folks that are flying. And you can actually get ADSB in with an iPad and fairly inexpensive technology. So it's not, you're not talking like a $100,000 upgrade on a plane. You're talking for relatively low cost, maybe a couple hundred, a couple $1,000s. You can have an iPad and the technology to have ADSB in. So it doesn't cost a lot, but it makes the flying public a lot safer. And I want you to listen right now. I want you to listen, first of all, to what I had said about the Rotor Act, and then I want you to listen to Secretary Duffy, the Transportation Secretary. So start with what I said at the press conference today.
Well, good morning. Today is an auspicious day for aviation safety. A day marked, I hope, by a revived spirit of hope and a shared determination. Act in the face of an unforgettable tragedy. American skies must be as safe as possible. And our duty as lawmakers is to ensure that they are. I would like to start by thanking the individuals who are joining me for the introduction of the Rotorcraft Operations Transparency and Oversight Reform, or the Rotor Act. Secretary Duffy, Chairwoman Homendy, Tim and Sherry Lilly, Doug Lane, and my colleagues have all worked hard to make the American skies safer. Tim, Sherry, Doug, thank you for your courage and your advocacy. Your presence reminds us of what is at stake. You've turned your grief into purpose. We are here today because of your efforts and the memory of Tim and Sherry, your son Doug, your wife and son, and all of the loved ones that were lost over the Potomac. The Rotor Act represents a common-sense step forward in aviation safety reform. One of the most important parts of this bill is the requirement that all aircraft, military and civilian, use both ADSB out and ADSB in. ADSB is critical for aviation safety. This technology allows aircraft to broadcast their positions and to receive positions of others in real time, faster than other technology in use today. It gives pilots and air traffic control a clear view of what is happening in the skies. The NTSB first recommended ADSB in nearly 20 years ago. We are going to make that happen this year. Make no mistake, there cannot be a double standard in aviation safety. We should not tolerate special exceptions for military training flights operating in congested airspace. No matter the circumstances, any aircraft flying near commercial traffic must fully adhere to safety standards. Given the communications breakdown that led to the accident, it is also important to address helicopter routes in congested commercial airspace. We cannot have commercial airplanes and helicopters on a collision course ever again. This bill is based on two core principles: technological transparency and institutional responsibility. While American skies are among the safest globally, this safety is not always assured. I want to be clear. The Senate will lead this effort. We will not wait for another accident to happen before we act decisively to protect the American skies. We have made it abundantly clear that when American lives are at risk, excuses are not acceptable. However, this is about more than policy. It's about people. The families standing here, they didn't ask to be a part of this story. However, they stand with the courage to ensure that it has a better ending for others. This is the kind of legacy we should all aspire to build. Thank you, and I now recognize the Secretary of Transportation, Sean Duffy, to give his remarks.
Sean, you know that the night that this plane crash happened was the night he was actually sworn in, and that was the first day on the job for him.
I know how on the job.
Yeah, I mean that evening, I remember seeing his family heading into where his office was going to be, and then apparently he's there, and then immediately has to deal with this. And obviously that impacted him in a major way. You know him well. I know Sean well. I can't imagine your first night on the job, this is what you were dealing with, this type of tragedy, and it seems to be a real focus point for him.
Sean is a really good man. He's become a good friend. He's doing a great job as President Trump's Secretary of Transportation. But this was baptism by fire. He had not been on the job 24 hours when this accident occurred, and he dove right in the middle of it. And he's been dealing with the aftermath, and I want you to listen to him now at the press conference today about our legislation. Here's Secretary of Transportation Sean Duffy.
This is not partisan. Safety is not partisan. It is Democrats and Republicans, House, Senate, DOT, FAA, the President's administration. All of us want to make sure we're safe. And so, Senator, I commend you for this bold effort and rallying the forces in this body to make sure we lead and make sure our skies continue to be the safest in the world. And this is one giant leap that's going to help make that happen. And I look forward to working with you and your colleagues to advance this cause. So thank you for driving. Again, 22 years ago, the NTSB recommended this. By the way, sometimes people get concerned about cost. And I don't think we should be concerned about cost when it comes to safety. But I was talking to the administrator of the FAA. The cost to deploy this technology is not that great for commercial aircraft or for the military. We can drive safety way higher and also at a very affordable cost. That's the benefit of the advancement of technology over the course of the last 22 years. And so this is doable. And I think the American people expect this from this body, this administration, to keep them safe.
Yeah, I mean, you wrap this up and you talk about the family members that were there for this. They want to make sure this tragedy never, ever happens to another family again. That seems to be clear, Sean. So the big question becomes, is this going to be a bipartisan thing, and can you get it done?
So I believe we will. And listen, there's 67 families who lost a loved one that night. And those families are grieving, that they're in agony, and yet they're using their agony to be advocates. And they're trying to use that horrific tragedy to change the law to protect the flying public so that there's not another family. So it's not your family or my family that sometime in the future loses a loved one on an air flight. And I want you to listen right now to Tim Lilly. Tim is the father of the American Eagle co-pilot Sam Lilly, and he was flying the American plane that crashed into the Blackhawk helicopter. And actually, Tim himself was a Blackhawk pilot, so he had flown those exact routes right along Reagan Airport. So he had a lot of experience with it, and yet tragically, he and his wife lost their son that night. Give a listen to Tim Lilly.
This is not going to be Sam's legacy to die in vain. 67 really great people lost their lives that night, and there's no reason for that. What we have here is legislation, if it's passed, is going to close some very important safety loopholes so that this never has to happen again.
It's simple, right? We're going to close these loopholes.
Yeah, and look, to see the families standing together. So I actually this evening I had drinks with the Secretary of the Army, and the Secretary of the Army met today with the families of those whose lives were lost, and he said it was a rough meeting. Look, they're pissed off. If your family was killed that night, you'd be pissed off. You'd be pissed off at the Army flight that crashed into the plane, you'd be angry, you'd be saying what to change. And it was apparently, look, it was not an easy meeting, and I respect the Secretary for going and listening and hearing their pain. I respect the families for channeling that pain into something productive. It's easy to just, if you lose a loved one, to mourn, to get angry, to be angry at God, to be angry at the world. I mean, that's a perfectly natural reaction. And yet I really admire these families that are they feeling those sentiments? Of course. But they've made the conscious decision, I'm going to channel that anger into trying to make a difference and change the laws. Now you asked, is this going to happen? It needs to be bipartisan. Now, the bill I introduced today is not bipartisan. No Democrats have joined it. And I will say the Democrats, they filed their own legislation that is partisan legislation, that they decided they wanted to tee off on President Trump and DOJ and have a bunch of elements in the bill that have nothing to do with safety but have everything to do with scoring partisan points. I think that's not very productive. This bill is designed to be bipartisan. And it is one of the advantages of chairing the Senate Committee on Commerce, Science, and Transportation. I'm going to tee up this bill. We are going to mark up this bill. Every member of the Commerce Committee is going to vote on this bill. I think we're going to get overwhelming bipartisan support for this bill. It needs to be bipartisan. There's nothing in this bill that from a Republican side is partisan. There's nothing that I put that is a crazy right-wing priority. This is designed to keep the flying public safer. This is a common sense provision. So I believe we will get bipartisan support. I believe it will be passed into law. And my prediction, Ben, this will be signed into law this year, and it will make everyone who flies safer.
I want to move to the other topic that we mentioned earlier, and that deals with the FBI right now and new intel that's coming out. And I got to say, a lot of people are going to be shocked by it. I'm not surprised at all by this. And I want to get your take on now what we're learning about the FBI with the Russia hoax and the controversial Trump-Russia actions predicted with alarming accuracy by foreign actors. I mean, you look at this coming out now, and it's just a joke how incredible this whole, I call it a play. It was a movie, it's a script, and everybody was playing with the script that they knew was a lie.
That's right, but I want to take a minute and sort of pull the curtain back for our listeners. So we do this podcast, and we do this podcast sometimes late at night. So it is 12:55 a.m. So, look, Ben is half asleep. To be honest, he's been asleep for 2 hours, and we woke him to do this. So the headline of this story says that it was predicted with alarming specificity.
Yes, that's true.
And I want y'all to know, we recorded this, and this is one of the advantages of doing a podcast. When you record it and screw it up, you can just stop and rewind and do it again. We recorded it, and twice Benjamin was unable to say the word specificity. He tried.
It's a tough one. Specific. I can't say it now. See?
and I will confess, I kept making it harder because I kept saying specificity.
Yes, he did. He did. I can say that word, no problem. Right? That one's easy.
So finally, after twice crashing and burning on saying specificity, he just said with alarming accuracy. By the way, the quote is not accuracy; it's specificity. But
I didn't say quote unquote. See, I covered myself there.
You didn't say the word quote, but I just wanted our listeners to know that like the specificity
the
with which
be real at 1 a.m. That is accurate.
It's not 1 a.m. It's 12:57. You got 3 minutes till 1 a.m. All right, so let's cover the but this is the important stuff to understand. Look, these are real human beings. I'm in my D.C. apartment. You're in a hotel room, I think. Is that right?
No, I'm in a house in Pinehurst, North Carolina. So that's where the World Championships is.
But look, that's pretty fancy and chic-y, and you've got to be up at like 6:30 is tea time. Is that right?
It's like 6:18 or something absurd.
6:18. All right, Benjamin. While you're at tea time, I will be fast asleep.
I believe you. And you'll be dreaming about the alarming specificity, the word I can't say.
You still can't say it. Come on. Specificity. Just say it once.
Specificity. There we go.
There we go. Look at that. By the way, you know what I did Monday on the flight to D.C.?
Wait, say that again?
Do you know what I did Monday on the flight to D.C.?
What, what did you do?
I watched Happy Gilmore 2. Have you seen that?
It's so good. It is so good.
It is
I love when they
awesome.
don't screw up a sequel like Top Gun Maverick. They killed it, right? Happy Gilmore, it's phenomenal.
Happy Gilmore 2 may be better than Happy Gilmore. Like it's
I agree.
Really good.
And by the way, did you see it coming? Because I did not. Hold on, spoiler alert. If you haven't watched it yet, turn it down for 5 seconds. When he killed his wife with a golf ball, I did not see that coming. Did you?
I did not see that coming either. I will say, by the way, as a complete aside, I've gotten to know Adam Sandler's producer. You know, he's a big hoops player. I got to tell you, I'm told that Sandler, I've invited him to come play hoops with me, and he said yes. So, hadn't happened yet, but I'm actually really psyched because Sandler and I are almost exactly the same age, and he's a serious ball player. And as you know, I play hoops twice a week. I may have to invite you.
By the way, really, do I say count me in for that game? I'd like to be there for that game.
Okay, don't injure Adam Sandler like he is a national comedic treasure. And I will say I played hoops with you. The last time I played hoops with you, you broke your finger.
Yes.
You're a large
I'm
man.
not worried about
You're a
him. I'm
strong
worried about
man.
me.
and you throw your body around pretty physically, which I admire. Like, I'm like, screw it. If you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen. But I'm just saying, don't injure Adam Sandler.
There you go. That'd be one heck of a headline, right?
All right, let's get back. We actually had a story to do, but I had to call you out because you like magically edited out you're screwing up the word. And so I just had to like bring our listeners in and say, you know, sometimes the magic of podcast is not exactly what you think. All right.
Yeah, I'm ready. Go for it. I'm ready.
Go ahead. Say what you're going to say.
No, I was going to say, so this is the part that laugh when you do radio, like I did three hours a day. My producer Diaz, who does this show as well, when that would happen, the worst part is he's just laughing at me through the glass on the other side of the wall because it's live and there's nothing he can do to fix it. And so he just laughs in my face. So now this is like my weird revenge because for how many years have we worked here, Diaz? 12, 13, 14? I don't even know how many it is. He just used to just laugh at me, and now he actually has to go back and fix it. So I'm like, the joke's on you, buddy. The joke's on you. So, yeah, when it's live, there's nothing you can do about it. So with all that specificity, the word I can't say is still denied for some reason. Let's get back to the FBI story.
You have reported on this story with alarming specificity. and let me read from the Fox News story. Quote, U.S. intelligence has credible foreign sources indicating that the FBI would play a role in spreading the salacious Trump-Russia collusion narrative before the Bureau ever launched its controversial Crossfire Hurricane probe. Sources familiar with the intel told Fox News Digital. CIA Director John Ratcliffe is expected to declassify the underlying intelligence, including a classified annex related to former special counsel John Durham's investigation into the origins of the Trump-Russia probe. A source familiar with the contents of the classified annex told Fox News Digital that while it may not have been exactly clear in the moment what the intelligence collection meant, with the benefit of hindsight, it predicted the FBI's move with alarming specificity. And it goes on to say,
bingo,
quote,
there's your quote.
There you go. Quote, ultimately, the release of the classified annex will lend more credibility to the assertion that there was a coordinated plan inside the U.S. government to help the Clinton campaign stir up controversy connecting Trump to Russia. The source, who was granted anonymity, discussed the sensitive intelligence matters that have not yet been made public, told Fox News Digital. Quote, mere days after this intelligence was collected, the FBI launched Crossfire Hurricane, the source said. Quote, it is really hard to see how Brennan, Clapper, and Comey are going to be able to explain this away.
You put that in perspective, and I think it's fair to say at this point, everything we were hearing during the back of the day on this, it was all just straight up government propaganda, and the media was 100% in on it.
Well, it was not just government propaganda. It was driven by the Hillary Clinton campaign. It was opposition research that they paid for. And then they gave to the Obama administration to launder it. They laundered it through the FBI. They laundered it through the Department of Justice. And in it was the federal government attacking Donald Trump because they did not want Donald Trump to be president. and the degree to which the government was complicit in partisan politics, but not just partisan politics that was false, that was a lie. This was made up. The Russia hoax was a hoax. It was concocted through the Hillary Clinton campaign. It was laundered through the FBI and the Department of Justice. And it was a lie that was a political attack job. And I want to commend John Ratcliffe, the head of the CIA, a good friend of mine, for making this public, for drawing accountability and truth to what occurred.
What do you think is going to come from this? Because there's so many, I think, disgruntled and frustrated Americans that hear these things and are like, all right, we're now getting more and more confirmation this happened. Will there be any real accountability, and does this move us closer to that?
So I hope so, that there needs to be accountability. And I will say you have Tulsi Gabbard, who released her bombshell information about the degree of the complicity of the administration. And if you didn't hear our podcast last week on this, you should listen to the podcast on Tulsi Gabbard's bombshell information. I hope there is accountability. I call on the Department of Justice. I also had, when I was having drinks with the Army Secretary, I also had drinks with the Deputy Attorney General of the United States. And so I was urging DOJ, follow the facts and prosecute anyone who is complicit. There are challenges because some of the people who were involved in this, their criminal conduct was before the statute of limitations expired. And so it is harder to prosecute someone who committed criminal conduct after the statute of limitations has expired. Andrew McCabe, who was the deputy director of the FBI, he testified before Congress. He testified falsely, and the statute of limitations has not yet expired on his testimony. So if I were to predict the single most likely person in the Obama administration to face prosecution, it would be Andrew McCabe, because there's still a window where he lied to Congress and it's within the statute of limitations.
Really incredible. We're going to keep you updated on all this. Don't forget to hit that subscribe or auto-download button. Share this podcast, and please write us a 5-star review. It helps us reach more people out there on the charts. And the Senator and I will see you back here in a couple of days.